there have been many theories proposed that have tried to explain the appearance, in pure astronomical terms, of the Star of Bethlehem. For your interest, and especially if you are fascinated by astronomy, Tranquility Base have created this short audio-visual presentation summarising some of these many theories.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good.
At least 8 purely astronomical explanations for the Star of Bethlehem have been put forward. These include nova or supernova, comets, conjunctions of planets, Jupiter and Saturn, Jupiter and Venus, and a conjunction of Jupiter and the star Regulus, close groupings of the planets, Jupiter, Saturn and Mars, stationary points of Jupiter, and variable stars. It is difficult, however, to see how any of these events might constitute a miraculous incident, as they are all predictable or occur intermittently. But for early Christian thinkers, this was not a dilemma, as the concept of a supreme deity controlling natural events to serve a divine purpose has a very long history. Let's now have a look at some of these theories in more detail. The theory that the Magi saw a nova or supernova explosion was hinted at initially by Kepler and has had many supporters. However, there is no Western record of any such event. Chinese records only have a possible nova or comet in the spring of 5 BC. There is also no known supernova remnant, which we would expect to find had there been a supernova marking the birth of Jesus. However, it's possible that it may have been a nova outburst. Could the star have been a comet? This suggestion dates back to 248 AD, when Orion suggested it as a possible explanation. But again, the Chinese records give no good support for a comet apart from the apparition in 5 BC. Much has been made of the statement that the star stood over the city for days. Comets often have tails, and these can be imagined to point towards or away from any point near the horizon. One advantage of the comet theory is that comets may move across the starry sky, and it has been argued that this fits the interpretations of the Gospel. The star was first seen in the east, and thereafter moved. Kepler is also associated with the idea that the close conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn was the event associated with the star. Between 7 BC and 6 BC, there were 3 conjunctions within 1 year. Whilst not spectacular, they are very rare. Although the 2 planets were close to one another in the sky, none of these were close enough that the 2 planets would appear as one object, and so for this reason, many analysts have rejected this theory. Here we can see a computer simulation of the motion of the two planets as they would have appeared on November the 12th in 7 BC. On June the 17th, 2 BC, Jupiter and Venus, the two brightest objects in the night sky, except for the Moon, came so close that their disks appeared to touch. This exceptionally rare event could surely not have been missed by observers such as the wise men. Computer simulations show the two planets were at an approximate altitude of only 16 degrees from the horizon. Again, with haze or mist in the sky, possibly both Jupiter and Venus appeared as one point of light. There has not been a brighter or closer conjunction of Venus and Jupiter in Leo so near to Regulus in the 2000 years before or since June 17th, 2 BC. So could this be the event that caused a group of astrologers we call the wise men to travel to Jerusalem in search of a new king? In September of 3 BC, Jupiter came into conjunction with Regulus. Regulus, the star of kingship and the brightest star in the constellation of Leo the Lion. Leo was associated with the Lion of Judah. Then the conjunction between Jupiter and Regulus was repeated in February and May of 2 BC. Another very rare event that surely could not have been missed by the Magi . In 6 BC, the three planets were fairly close together in the constellation of Pisces. However, the planets only got within about 8 degrees of one another, and it seems highly unlikely that this would have been called a star. Jupiter, in its path across the night sky, is seen to move from east to west across the starry background. Due to the relative movements of the Earth and the planets, this motion appears to slow, then stop as the planet reaches what is called a stationary point. The planet then appears to reverse its direction of motion, then stops again before resuming a westerly path. At the time of the birth of Jesus, one of the stationary points of Jupiter could have occurred when the planet was directly over Bethlehem. The British astronomer Mark Kidger has recently proposed a new idea for the Star of Bethlehem. He suggests that the object was actually a real star, Do Aquila. This is a variable star that changes its brightness and which may have experienced a nova outburst in the past. Unfortunately, the material thrown off by a nova outburst would be very hard to detect after the passage of 2,000 years. A combination of a bright nova, that's an explosion, and the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn was seen in the year 5 BC. Ancient Chinese astronomers recorded this as an unusual bright star that appeared in the eastern sky for 70 days. This was a rare sight, and the Magi may have believed the combination of the two events was a religious sign. An alternative view of the Christmas story is that the inclusion of the star as an example of Midrash, a Judaic tradition of scriptural interpretations and an approach to writing about religious themes. The inclusion of legendary or non-factual elements may be used to accentuate the theological meaning of the factual account. This does not mean that the author of St. Matthew's Gospel invented the story of the star, but that he knew of traditions concerning Christ's birth and incorporated them into his account so as to convey to the reader the miraculous way in which Christ was born.